So hi everybody, this is Steve Falcon Napier. Welcome to the Circle of Brilliance. Today we have a special subject, and that subject is, what's the dark side of paying attention to tension? So I'll open this up to you guys. I kind of planted a seed with you last time around. So what do you think the dark side would be if we were paying attention to where we find our greatest levels of tension? What might the dark side be? Now,
I'll comment. I'll start it because
thank you.
I was there the last time, and what happens is you're paying attention to some things and therefore can't pay attention to other things. So you're not paying attention to those things that could actually be very important and powerful, but less noisy. It's like you're paying attention to the noisiest thing in the room,
Right.
as opposed to paying attention to the thing that might actually be the most important thing in the room.
I would add that maybe you might get obsessed and you start seeing things which are maybe even not there.
Right. Particularly the further upgrade you go, the more reality becomes distorted. You start making stuff up.
Yeah.
So
I would say the selective attention would play a role probably in that as well, where you'll resist some things and other things that perhaps is more easier to mentally and emotionally digest. You'll readily accept that, but the others you just resist.
Yeah, and so let's see how that all plays out in different kind of levels of life. So, because certainly we can apply that at the individual level. You can look at your own life and ask yourself the question, am I paying attention to certain things at the cost of other things that also would benefit from attention, but don't necessarily cause the tension that other things might be causing at point in time? And how does that play out when we're talking about family systems, or when we're talking about businesses, when we're talking about cultures and societies, how it plays out at many different levels? And I just think it's really important as a kind of a technique that has as its slogan, pay attention to tension, that we also need to stop occasionally and say, let's pay a little bit of attention to the not so much tension, or pay attention to the opposite of tension, the low levels of tension, the things that are being ignored. And so I'll give you one example of this from a business setting, and I think that all of you on the call can relate to this. So one of the challenges that I think organizations are often facing is trying to get, they want to improve their bottom line, they want to increase productivity, and on and on and on. But they're so focused on these issues that are causing them trouble very far upgrid that they ignore all the things that are happening downgrid. And so I can remember years ago, we had a client who was absorbed by another company. And when they got absorbed by that company's culture now imposed itself on the acquired company. And the big cultural change was that, effective immediately, cold calling was forbidden. So the only way that you could go about finding new clients was by working their card member database. And then the other thing that happened at the same time was they said there will now be a total freeze in hiring. So not only can't your sales representatives do any cold calling ever again, or grounds for immediate dismissal, but you can't hire any new people. And so you as the manager now have no choice but to try to convince all of your incumbent veteran sales performers to completely change the way that they go about building their business. Well, what do you think this did to the level of tension among the employees and the management team?
Certainly went up.
It certainly went up, because do you think that while they changed the rules and stopped hiring, do you think they reduced expectations of performance? No. So sorry, the quota is still the quota. You still have to meet it. So all kinds of pandemonium happened, and everyone put all their energy into fighting against it and trying to change these new rules that were coming down the whole pike. But sooner or later, when they realized they were just screaming into the wind, they had no choice but to look at what they actually did have. And what they did have was a whole army of very successful sales representatives who were down in apathy. What do you think happened when they could no longer put energy into the upgrid issues, and now they were able to put energy into the downgrid resources they had? So what do you think happens when we do pay some attention to the things that are downgrid? What do you think? Do you think they met their quota?
No.
Really? Hmm.
Well, if they're down grid, there's not a lot of movement.
There's not a lot of movement. And why is there not a lot of movement when people are down grid?
I tend to see like downgrade as status quo, like they'll even fight
Mm,
perhaps or resist to, the new way of doing things.
sure. And they got a lot of that, got a lot of pushback. You can count on it. But think about what's going on when you're down in power, apathy, and apathy. So you already have systems in place that have been serving you well. Your level of ability greatly exceeds your level of challenge. So you think the people that are there for down grid are probably making enough money to make ends meet? Are they, coming to work and it's all become very, kind of routine, predictable, and on and on? What do you think?
Yes, yeah, very comfortable in what's
Very
in
comfortable. And they've
yeah.
been particularly comfortable because prior to these things happening, how much attention do you think management paid to all those people that were down grid?
Probably
They,
not much.
probably not very much. Now, how is that a problem? Well, it's a problem because we know that as someone plots further and further down grid, we are looking at mastery coming into play. And unfortunately, when we see someone plotting very far down grid, we should all know we're looking at untapped potential. I mean, think of the upgrade maneuvers: increase the standards, change the task, awaken emotions, boost accountability. This is all ways of saying, like, look, you're already so good at whatever standard it is you've put in front of yourself. What do you think would happen if we put a little bit of energy into applying some upgrade maneuvers to the people that are too far down grid? Do you think I could produce an increase in productivity and an increase in bottom line performance that would actually be better than any increase in production and performance I might get with a new hire?
I think
Hmm.
so.
Yeah. Okay. So now this is a very important lesson to, I think, put some energy into, because often we've said to our clients, if you really want to increase your bottom line and do it quickly, you must stop worrying about brand new people that are upgrade, people who don't have the ability, people that are feeling overwhelmed by the task, people who've no proven track record. Just stop it altogether. Stop it now, and put all of your management attention into the many, many people that are too far down grid. So, and I like to point out to them that the only way these people ended up downgrid was because their ability went up. Well, how did their ability go up? Who gave them that ability? Who made that investment in these people who have now ended up in apathy?
You could say they were pushed down by management.
They were pushed down
Yeah.
by management. So first of all, management is who gave them all the ability. Management is the one who did all this. And so what is the point of planting a crop and caring for that crop and that crop being a very, very strong crop, and then you don't really harvest all that much from it. You know, you get some, but even though the field is capable of producing far more efficiently, you're just kind of going like, no, as long as it keeps producing everything it always produced, I'm good enough. Besides, I don't have time. I'm worried about all these people that are upgrade that are coming into my office and making mistakes and, you know, upsetting the apple cart and all that. You guys
I
with me
think,
on the point I'm illustrating? Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I think that's a big gap in management. I'm thinking of what's the international consultancy, Gallup. You
Yep.
know, when they do that state of work report every year, I think they're up to currently like 80% of the American workforce in particular are disengaged.
Yep.
And engagement, at least in my mind, always starts at a personal level. Like it's very hard to get engagement
Mhm.
from an individual if they don't feel safe, secure, happy, and healthy in their environment.
Well, right.
That's
And
right.
so, you know, if we look at the change grid, we know that when someone is very far up grid, we might see low levels of engagement, high levels of awareness, hypo awareness, and upgrade awareness, and then upgrade intention. These are new people. But as they start to build their ability, they end up moving further and further out grid, if you will, and simultaneously moving a bit down grid because of ability increasing. And they end up being engaged and they end up executing, and it's all good. Unfortunately, they continue to do that. Again, now they're the conscious competent. They continue to do that. And over time, the task didn't change. And so perceived challenge starts going down, down, down. And now they slip into downgrade execution, which is where going through the motions, autopilot, routine comes into play, down into downgrade intention, where they say, like, yeah, I mean, I know I could do better and I probably should do better. But you know what? No, no, I'm down in downgrade awareness. Yeah. Nope, I'm in hypo awareness. I don't even really pay attention to it anymore. And so I think we're looking at a normal developmental continuum that happens to move us from upgrid, an unconscious, or rather a conscious incompetent, to outgrid, a conscious competent, but sooner or later, that unconscious competency becomes an illusion, if you will, a false sense of
Mhm.
security. Because look where I'm at. I'm in power, apathy, and apathy. Most of the downgrade quadrant is in power, apathy, and apathy. So what does that mean? When your subject matter experts actually have the lowest levels of tension, productive tension, what do you think your company's growth is going to look like? What do you think?
Mhm.
Not as you want to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
and it's happen. I watch it happen all the time in companies.
all the time in companies. And you yet again, it's because of the rule that governs human behavior. People pay attention to where they find their tension. And so all those managers who intellectually might understand that there's all kinds of untapped potential down here in their veterans that kind of show up when they feel like they can go through the motions, and you know they'll meet their minimum performance standards, but you know they get it intellectually, they may be fully aware, but you know what, problem A, B, C, and D is right in their face. And so
Mhm.
they're going to pay attention to where their tension is. They're going to become very all the things we know about stress and power stress. Lots of urgency, lots of impulsiveness coming out of the power stress, and you know, even fear, desperation, etc. up here from the stress contributor. Well, if my managers are being totally distracted, this is a very long way to get to the main point. um, if if because of something in this particular case, the way the business is structured, the way that the culture of the organization operates, because so many people are so consumed by these upgrade things that are causing them, you know, sufficient levels of tension, by the end of the day, they run out of energy, they run out of time. What gets ignored? All the things that are where?
Downgrade
Right,
or
anywhere further south, right?
operational I mean, it's like the difference between the strategic stuff and the operational stuff, and
Yeah,
people just ignore the day-to-day operations because they don't see them as important.
yeah, yep.
Um, and people get taken for granted and lose their incentive and their ability to keep things moving. And that takes away from the energetic and innovative growth of the company.
That's right. That's right.
You
And so,
I would, if I might just add, I would be so bold to say I've been working in quite a few companies. I don't think there are a lot of managers who can cope with this, because even if they're aware of somebody downgrade and apathy, they
mhm,
tend to give that person the guilt and wash the hands of them.
yes.
And then they'd rather go out and choose somebody new.
Mhm,
Well, they don't even understand why that person is there and how much they're missing of
mhm.
great potential.
And so why do you think managers might even avoid working with downgrid people and instead maybe even look for things that are upgrid to do to keep them occupied and something that at least on the surface looks like it's positive. So what are they? What's that all about?
They're
Good.
not capable of taking it in their hands to making it their own. They
Hmm.
don't think it's their doing. They think it's something to do with that employee, that it's his or her fault.
Hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
In
Yep.
fact, when I was on a startup team helping to design the HR software, I remember this. I think it was Harvard that did a study, and it said less than 4%. Certainly, the Fortune 500, Fortune 1000 companies, less than 4% even understand how to model performance, like model workforce.
Mm,
Like they have the financial models and all these kinds of things. And I thought about that because, you hear all the time this idea of this chasm between so-called soft skills, hard skills, and how, oftentimes they'll put a lot of money into the hard skills, but the so-called soft skills, the emotional intelligence and all these kinds of things,
mhm, mhm.
is put on the back burner. It's like we'll put effort and money into training if or when needed, and not seeing that as an integral part of a growth strategy, like innovating through your people. I just think it's a missed opportunity. But it's
Mhm,
been,
mhm, mhm.
what is that quote that you say all the time, that Thomas Paine quote, a long time of not thinking a thing wrong,
A long habit of not thinking a thing wrong gives it the superficial appearance of being
of
right.
being right. I think that's exactly what this is.
Yep. 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 Yep.
Yeah.
And so, I think we're looking at something that's very cultural. And we already know, again, from a survival instinct, people pay attention where they find their attention, and for good reason. So I'm not going to say that that's in any way a bad thing, but we have to say that there are times when we need to look deeper and go, well, what is stopping people from paying attention to these things that need to be done? So I'll throw this out to you. And again, for the most part, it's a reminder to you guys, it's much easier to lower tension than it is to raise tension.
Mhm.
So when I've got somebody who's up in stress, the mode that I would go into would be more of that trainer kind of a mode, because what are they lacking? So you think about the downgrade maneuvers. So the downgrade, I got to do something to increase their ability to do whatever it is that needs to be done. So normalize, simplify, restore resources, add resources. When I'm teaching them new stuff, I'm adding resources. So it's easy to take a brand new person who doesn't know anything and put them through some sort of training program and everything that comes along and all that. It's easy to do downgrade maneuvers, but upgrade maneuvers are work, because they have to be kind of customized for the individual if you really want to be effective. So again, I need to increase standards, change the task, awaken emotions, boost accountability. That's me, the manager, doing those sorts of things that will raise the level of tension. But I need to not only raise the level of tension up into power, I need to move them out grid to get them engaged. And that means I need to do some of the leadership stuff. And although leadership is talked about nonstop, um, it's never really about leadership. It's about management related behaviors that are being labeled as leadership behaviors. But you guys all know from pride based leadership, the true skills of leadership are not what's being emphasized. And so we need that that energy there to, um, if you think about the key skills of leadership, we need someone to be able to articulate that compelling vision for me as an individual, or for my group, or for my company, my culture, my whatever. I need that leader to paint that compelling vision. I need someone to awaken and sustain desire in my heart to be able to pursue such a thing. I need someone to create and maintain an environment of pride so we all feel good about what we're doing and why we're doing it. That's what leadership is really all about. I need someone who can share the spotlight to identify and cultivate more true leaders. So that's what I need. I need upgrid maneuvers and I need outgrid maneuvers. But this skill set, or those two skill sets I've just described, are dramatically different than the skill set of what you have to do upgrid. So upgrade is easy. And I wonder sometimes if the people that have been put in these management roles or executive roles are actually happy when a crisis occurs, because it means they don't have to do this stuff.
Mm.
Yeah.
You know?
I was gonna, yeah, I mean, I love this conversation. It's really, really important because, it's all the years I've spent
Yeah.
within these situations. What is occurring to me now is that, as we're talking, is that might it also be, yes, it's hard work, but might it also be that the downgrid people are a bit of a mirror for those people in leadership, and they need to turn away from them because there is a mirror there saying this is potentially a part of who you are or can be or might be, and they want to move toward that other eager energy that is upgrid to show them and take that energy for themselves. I don't know if I'm rambling, but
No, yeah.
does this make sense? And that it's almost like that energy then becomes available to them. And it goes in line with what you're saying, that it's easier, to work with people like that. But they're energized by those people who need them so obviously. And whereas the others are more of a mirror for potentially what they fear.
Yes. And I think that's
Good.
particularly well illustrated in a sales organization. So
Mhm.
senior level successful sales representatives tend to hold their managers in contempt on a good day. So because they go like, look, this manager can't begin to do what I do on a daily basis. They can't sell anybody anything. So all they're really here to do is to help me get whatever resources I need when I need them. Otherwise, I wish they'd just stay out of my way. And so I think that those managers like being consumed by upgrid work because they know that they're not really all that well received by the downgrid people. They're not all that well regarded, respected. In all likelihood, the downgrid people are outperforming the managers financially. So you just kind of go, I can understand why they'd go like, I've got nothing to contribute to those people, and those people don't think I have anything to contribute to them. And so I guess I'll just count my blessings and leave them alone. So is that what you're thinking about, Kathy?
Yeah, I mean, that's a big part of it. I mean, sales is a perfect example of that.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Because
yeah,
it's all about, ego and I mean, from the standpoint of who am I, and not ego in a bad way, but
right, no,
that sense of ego, and where can I find my energy and where can I feel good,
yeah, yep,
you
yep, yep,
know?
yeah.
Yeah.
And so yeah, now we have a skill gap. They don't know how to do it. And then they're also avoiding doing it. So if we think about those whole, the root causes of human struggle and failure, we had unaware, unable, unwilling, unsuitable. Well, they are unable and they are unwilling, and they may very well be unsuitable. So
Mhm.
you know so we've got all these dynamics that are going on at the same time, so it shouldn't be at all surprising. But now imagine, going back to this company that I'll allow to remain nameless since we're being recorded, but can you imagine how these managers felt when basically they were being told that moving forward, they were going to be judged exclusively on how successful they were at increasing performance and profitability among their veteran performers?
Yeah, their tension probably went up.
Hmm. Yeah, and suddenly, guess what kind of training programs they all wanted to hire people like us to provide them with? You know,
Mhm.
managing veteran performers. You know, and it was very different because obviously you have to. It's not about trying to train the veterans. It's about really becoming more of a coach and more of a peer leader, someone that even though those successful downgrid performers may very well doubt the manager's ability to do what they do, it just means the manager has to do something different that the downgrade people would view as valuable to them.
Mhm.
And so one of the things that we talked about a lot is that these downgrade performers are always going to have their ears opened wide if you can tell them faster ways of getting done what they need to get done. If you can free up, you're a downgrade performer. Think about this. So are you worried about money? Are you really money motivated? Is that going to make a difference? Good grief. You had everything you needed. You could have gone out without anybody saying boo to you. You could have gone out and find a lot more clients and made a lot more sales and made a lot more money. You didn't do it because at a certain point, money is no longer the motivator. So what
Yeah.
do you think the thing they want? So if you were financially, no concerns whatsoever, what would be the next most valuable thing someone could help you get more of?
I
Right.
hear a lot from purpose. I hear a lot of meaning and different things like that. This idea of fulfillment, because they reached a stalemate. Like when they know how to sell. Like they don't have to be taught how to sell.
Hmm.
So they know how to do that, but they looking for a way to level up
Yeah,
so
yeah,
that
yeah.
what they are doing has a deeper purpose and meaning for that so-called, especially those who reach that so-called second, what they call second act or second
Yeah,
stage
yeah,
of their career.
yeah. Hmm.
Money isn't it. They're
Yeah,
looking for the purpose and meaning and
right now.
fulfillment.
And there's one thing that they want in between those two. So you've just, we talked about the first one is money because, there's a reality that people are living in. Well, ultimately, they want this fulfillment, this mission, etc. What's the one in between? Kathy, I think you said it.
Time. They
They
want
want
time.
time. They want
Yeah,
time. Because
yeah,
ultimately, for them to get all that fulfillment and all that, they need to liberate some sort of
right.
time. So they've got some space to be able to do that. So we said, look, if you really want these people to respect you, you need to show them ways of getting more done in less time. And
Mm,
you can also say to them, look, things have changed. We are going to increase your quotas because obviously the ones we've given you, you can pretty much accomplish without giving it much thought whatsoever. Well, guess what? You still work for this company, and we have every right to increase our expectations for your level of performance. And so they threw in some just very straightforward upgrade maneuvers. They increased the standard against which you were going to be judged. Other things they did was that they found out that a lot of these veteran performers had achieved whatever their financial objective was by selling a fraction of the overall product list or service listing the company had available. So there were certain product lines where these veteran performers had zero production, but they had so much production in other products that ultimately they met their financial goal. And so they said, no, we're going to change the task a little bit. We're going to say, not only do you need to meet your financial objectives, you need to meet certain objectives around product mix.
mm,
And so they would kind of throw that in there to change the task a little bit. And then of course the accountability kind of piece. Up until this whole thing changed, there may very well have been a reporting requirement that had been imposed upon these downgrade people. But do you think the managers put any energy into looking at their sales reports?
oh,
No. And so suddenly, guess what management was doing? They were looking at the sales reports of the people that were very far downgrades. So suddenly there was a boost in accountability. Um, and so there were certainly things that could be done just as far as straightforward upgrade maneuvers go. But this whole idea about moving them outgrid that whole idea about helping you find more time, to liberate more time, to become more efficient so that you could pursue the things that were more important to you at a, elsewhere in life, or whatever frame you want to put around it. That's a little bit of a leadership kind of thing, saying to these people, become the own leader of your own reality. And you can do that. We can help you become more efficient. We can get what we need to get, but we can help you become more efficient, etc. Um,
So do
now,
you think
yep,
some of this is, I'm glad we have Kathy on the call here. Do you think some of this is like this carryover from the whole industrial revolution kind of thing that's incubated, like how businesses are run and structured for so long? Because it seemed like, this that you're talking about is such an anomaly even today. Like when you mention this kind of thing, management, often resisted.
mhm,
Yeah, I think it's just only because it's this, think about spiral dynamics. I mean, it's just a paradigm shift. You know, the industrial age was a paradigm shift, then we moved into the knowledge age, and then we moved, different organizations are in different places. So they're all, anytime you have a hierarchy in particular, we're moving out of hierarchical models over time. But anytime you have a hierarchy in particular, the more you're going to have this phenomenon of disengagement,
mhm,
of
Mm.
non-engagement, because it's about power. Who has power, who doesn't have power, and who engages. Whereas as we move up the spiral and organizations are becoming flatter and innovation is required more regularly because of the nature of change moving more quickly, it requires organizations to be structured differently. And so there has to be more engagement on a lateral level by more people, and therefore they're forced to learn. And so this is changing. Again, it's one of those major things that's changing in society, because those organizations that can't move out of that and continue to have disengaged, unengaged people, something like a pandemic gives them the opportunity to say, I'm out of here.
mhm.
I don't need this anymore. I have enough money. I can just
Uh,
totally disengage.
right, I can retire.
And,
Yep.
and these organizations can actually just go away after a while until they reorganize. So yes, Brian, I mean, I think but I see, if you take the bigger picture, it's just another paradigm shift,
Yeah.
from the ages, the kind of organizational stages that we're in.
Now,
Okay.
one other thing I'd like to throw into the mix about organizational tension management here has to do with culture being added to it. So there are certain cultures that I've worked with over these years that for management to start directing attention towards these veteran performers, the veteran performers would view it as being an insult. There is an assumption that a talented individual was hired. It was probably a very competitive hire. Oh, pardon me. Oh, don't mind me. Oh my goodness. All right, I'm fine. I'm fine. Cancel the 911 call. Um, anyway, so they thought, look, I was hired in a competitive situation. I know my stuff. I've got the education. I've got the background. I've gone through the company's training program. I've jumped through all of your hoops. I've proven myself in the field. So don't put any energy into me. Don't come and check on what I'm doing. Don't do all that. It actually, in certain cultures, is viewed as being borderline insulting, if not outwardly insulting. um, and I think that's true to a certain degree in the US, but I've encountered it particularly working with audiences in Europe. And I think because of that attitude among the employees, or that cultural aspect among the employees, management also feels the same way. So management is probably thinking like, well, I can't tell them what to do. They've already proven what they're doing. They already know what they're doing. They're just going to be insulted. I'd be insulted if I did it if someone did it to me. They're going to be insulted if I do it to them. And so I think that sometimes for this to really work, you also have to look at what's going on culturally, because that's going to greatly impact how you go about doing the tension management. So can you guys relate to
Oh,
what
totally. I mean, this is what I do. Yeah, this is what I bring to organizational change, that piece of it. You have to look at the culture and
Yeah.
say, what are the expectations, around behavior? So absolutely. That's
Yeah.
what makes it interesting and fun,
Yeah. Well, I think that even in the US, I'll give you one example from the client work that I've done. I've worked with a lot of normal. I've worked with a lot of traditional. None of them were normal, I promise you. I've worked with a lot of traditional organizations, but I've also worked with a lot of multi-level marketing companies. So multi-level marketing companies are, again, companies where the people who sell on their behalf are volunteers. They're out there selling Tupperware or Avon or whatever the product happens to be. Well, the big difference in the culture of those two kinds of organizations is that employees in a traditionally structured organization view management attention as being a potential um, damaging. It's bad news. If you got a note on your desk that says your manager wants to talk to you, you would think, oh gosh, what have I done now? Or, oh God, what's happening now? You kind of view management attention as being a bit of a problem. It's not desired. It's not whatever. If you wanted something, you go to the manager and ask for it. If the manager is coming to you, you tend to think, oh, what's happening? Where, interestingly enough, the opposite is true in a multi-level marketing organization, because in a multi-level marketing organization, the only people the manager pays any attention to whatsoever are the people who are doing what's expected of them, the people who are performing, the people who have the right attitude, who are doing the right things the right way often enough. So you have to earn management's attention instead of somehow or another fall victim to the manager's attention. Can you guys feel that distinction? Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's a very, very big deal. Can you imagine if traditionally structured organizations said to all their employees, moving forward, we are going to ignore you completely unless you are doing exactly what the company expects of you.
Yeah.
So what do you think would
Good
end up
luck.
happening? There'd be hell in the short run. No mistake
Yeah.
about it. There'd be hell in the short run. But in the long run, you'd find out that people want the attention of, pardon me. Oh, dry weather.
I apologize to you. I have to run because I actually have a visitor.
Oh,
We're both vaccinated. And I have a visitor.
well, how novel. Well, all right. Well, since I'm
I'm-
losing my voice, I'll just say we'll pick up where we left off on Tuesday. I want to talk about how this whole dynamic plays out when we're looking at individuals rather than looking at organizations. And then either Tuesday or next Thursday, we'll talk about how this plays out at more of a not governmental, but societal kind of level as well.
That's fantastic. Thank you so
Cool.
much.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye for
Bye.
now.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.